We've done some sleuthing, and we're going to expose the largest Doge whale wallets. This is Around the Blockchain. How's it going, everybody? Make sure you hit that like button. It's going to be a great episode. We're going to talk about ETH. We're going to talk about some L2s and some secret Doge wallets. And we got a great lineup today, including a guest we haven't had on in a long time. No, we're not talking about TJ, but we'll start with TJ. TJ, how are you doing today? Did you just get a haircut?
I did just get a haircut recently, in case you can't tell. But yeah, I'm doing great, having a good time, loving life and Bitcoin.
Next time, sweep up the studio. Hairs are everywhere. Also on today, we have RiceTVx, and I heard a rumor you might be coming to Hotlanta and maybe even visiting the studio. Is this true?
This is true, and we will let people stay tuned for when it actually happens, because when it happens, reality has just broken itself.
All right, and 1 point for an awesome Metallica shirt. He is leading the way here. Also on today, we have Cassius Cuvee, who just released a music video for Catching Up to Crypto. How's that going so far?
It looks great, man. Appreciate everybody down there at Hit Network. You guys did a great job producing it. And like TJ told me, you made a content creator's paradise down there. So thanks a lot.
It was a Hype Williams style video. Guys, I'm not kidding. This is a high level production. I was pretty amazed by it, actually. And then welcome back. We have Crypto Factor, MC Paul D. Factor, you're back. It's great having you on here. Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, thank you, man. I also got a haircut, as you can see, and I feel really good about it. I feel like it's shining up.
Looks all right. Looks
all right. You know what? 1 point for the shiny forehead. Hey, sometimes we got to stick together. I heard pony knots stick together, so maybe it's time for the chrome domes to stick together as well. All right. Well, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the ETH rally, and TJ, I'll probably lead with you because I'm starting to get a little bit suspicious. We have an upgrade about 2 weeks away. It's the Shanghai upgrade, and now Bitcoin is now starting to lose a little bit of strength against ETH, maybe potentially breaking out of a channel. And it's reminding me, I want to say it was about a year and a half ago, when right before the merge, we saw ETH put in a record number of daily green candles. It was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. It just pumped up rumor. Are you seeing a similar situation play out here? Are you feeling a little bit nervous about the upgrade 2 weeks from now?
No, I'm not feeling nervous at all, but you took the words out of my mouth when you said buy the rumor, sell the news. It is 100%, I feel, one of those type of situations. It's back in the limelight. Everybody's talking about Ethereum layer 2s, Ethereum scaling, Ethereum staking, all these different things going on with Ethereum. I've got a major upgrade, and its ecosystem is flourishing, doing extremely well. So for good reason, everybody's excited about Ethereum. That being said, I do think it's not like after the Shanghai upgrade that we're going to see, Ethereum just take off like what everybody wanted to see after the ETH2 upgrade. It will be most likely, in my opinion, build up to a point, and then, the event actually happens. The hype dissipates a little bit, and then we go back to continue on the cycle as we've been in so far. So par for the course is what I would say right now for me. Seeing Bitcoin dominance tick up, seeing Ethereum try to hang on, and ride some of that hype going into this upgrade makes total sense to me. Probably will pull back a little bit after the upgrade, in my opinion.
All right, and I'm glad you brought up hype. I do want to just highlight the price action here. We are at an 8-month high. It has been 8 months. It was August of last year since we've been this high with ETH's price, right? So we're seeing a good amount of upward movement on the just recently here. But you brought up hype and Crypto Factor. I want to ask you about hype because we're seeing a lot of L2 hype right now. We're seeing a lot of people traded in ETH. Some people are saying they're just trying to airdrop farm. Some people are, just trying to play liquidity pool games to, get a nice claim. Once the airdrop hype dies down, do you see a pullback with ETH? Is the airdrop hype fueling any of this price action?
Look, we're going to see pullbacks, DZ, but what I'm looking at is a mini altcoin season that's going to be led either by Ethereum, either by Doge, or either by XRP, but something's going to lead that. Now, the fact that Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, it does that in every cycle, and we do see altcoins overtake Bitcoin, make more profit than Bitcoin in general. So I don't know if it's going to be a sell the news. It probably will be. We do expect volatility around that period. Maybe whales play games, which they love doing. They love splashing around, sometimes with big splashes, but I do see a mini altcoin season coming in the horizon.
All right, looking good there. What are you more bullish on in the L2 or in the in the hype cycle season and the altcoin season, are you more interested in ETH or L2s?
I'm more interested in Ethereum, but also Matic, Polygon. It's something I feel should have pumped a lot harder last time, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of people and drop some jewels this time.
All right. Well, we'll be looking at that. All right. Well, Rice, I want to ask you, we have Shanghai less than 2 weeks away. Looks like it's coming in, tentatively scheduled April 12th here. There's a lot of pressure. Do you think the selling pressure on ETH is going to really come to fruition? A lot of people are saying, oh, all this staked ETH is going to get dumped all at once. We know it won't exactly be like that. It'll be somewhat of a linear drip. But of the ETH that's unstaked, are you expecting a high percentage to get sold, a low percentage? What are your thoughts? Muted.
Good question. Thank you for having me on the channel, and thank you for letting me know that I was muted. I would say that obviously I don't think we're going to be seeing a big, huge sell-off, because a lot of the people that are currently staking are really hardcore people that really support Ethereum, and it's not exactly the easiest thing for people to have gone through the process of staking the coins. Also, a lot of people that were staking at higher prices, so they're currently down where they were when they initially staked. So I definitely don't see that taking place. Honestly, after we see the upgrade, I see the staking increasing, because it's going to give the availability for people to unstake whenever they want to unstake based off the terms of the smart contract. Whereas prior to the Shanghai upgrade, people that were staking were just kind of staking in limbo. You didn't get to unstake. And that's where the question came in with the SEC saying, well, now that Ethereum is a proof of stake, and now that people are staking and they're expecting a proof of return, this is a security, and all this BS that the SEC likes to put out their mouths. So yeah, that's just kind of my thought about that. And again, I think cryptocurrency is the lifeboat, and people are going to realize this more. What leads this rally, I agree with what Crypto Factor said, Paul. I think Litecoin may be playing a factor in that, because we also do have the Litecoin halving that is coming up very, very soon, and that has always played a very pivotal role in the 4-year market cycle overall, not only for Bitcoin, but for cryptocurrency in general.
All right. Now, I think that's a fantastic theory. Cassius, I want to ask you about that theory. Do you think retail, at least, I don't want to speak for institutional demand, they have quarterly profits, tax events, and the like, but for retail, knowing that you'll be able to withdraw your Ether whenever you would like, will that increase staking? Do you expect a surge in staking now that we know, oh, I can actually know there's a finish line, not, a hazy question mark?
Yes, and the short answer is yes to that more people in retail will be likely to stake. But I still believe in the buy the rumor, sell the news. So initially, I think we're going to have a sell-off, but I don't think it's going to take very long for it to bounce back. And also, I agree that altcoin season actually begins with Ethereum. So I think the other alts will also run after that. Basically, Bitcoin, everyone knows Bitcoin leaves the market, and then the biggest altcoin is Ethereum. Once that one starts to move, a lot of the other altcoins start to wake up. And so, if you're looking for outsized returns, you might want to start looking at some other altcoins farther down the market cap list.
All right. Well, I asked you the same question I asked Factor. Are you more interested in holding ETH right now or L2s?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, I think you're going to get a greater return on the L2s. I still think that everything is still down at pretty good prices, or at least if we wait till after a little bit of a pullback to see if there's a sell the news. But just because the market caps are smaller and there's a lot of upside potential, I think that holding the L2s will probably, as an investor, give you a better rate of return.
All right, RiceTVx, same question here. More interested in holding ETH right now or L2s?
L2s, because until Ethereum can actually not need L2s, we need to focus on L2s. What's the point?
Succinct answer right
Ethereum,
there. Actually,
if Ethereum can't really do the job, then you need somebody else to hold the hand and assist the job. So yeah, that's where something like Polygon Matic comes into play.
All right, that is
Once
approved answer. Very logical.
Together. Once they get their stuff together, they may not need L2s. I mean, L2s are just something to help the process along.
Oh, speaking of logical, speaking of Spock, TJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Are you more interested in holding ETH or L2s right now?
Yeah, I was going to be the contrarian there, I guess, because everybody else said L2s. I was going to say ETH. And it depends on how much and at what point in the cycle. I do agree with what Cassius was saying. I do think there can be higher returns on some of the L2s. But I was just looking earlier today. There's a lot of L2 scaling solutions out there, probably more than most of us really even know of off the top of our heads. There's so many. Now, all of them aren't going to be successful. A lot of them will get really good returns. But I feel very confident in Ethereum. So if I'll put it this way. The answer doesn't have to be one or the other, but if I had $100,000, I'd put $90,000 in Ethereum, $10,000 in layer twos. Now, the $10,000 I put in the layer twos might turn into more than the 90,000 I put in Ethereum, but the downside risk I feel like is so much lower on Ethereum, in my opinion, to where like I know, hey, if I can get an automatic 2 to 3x, great. I'll take that versus swinging for 5, 10, 12, 20 x's. They're out there. I do think there'll be a lot of success. I'm very bullish on the ETH layer 2 niche. That being said, I still want most of my bags in the main chain. That's just me personally.
No, I would tend to agree with all that. Me personally, yeah, I mean, I think the downside risk, for instance, if that Kobe tweet was true, you'll be very happy you're holding ETH versus L2s, but it just depends on your risk tolerance there. All right, well, let's talk about Bitcoin and their L2s. We had a really good research report come out from Binance and their analytics team, and just kind of speaking about the game theory of when Bitcoin's rewards are reduced and reduced and reduced. Right now, 6 1/4, then 3 1/8, and then 1 point something. Fast forward, Bitcoin halving stops over a century from now, about 140 years from now, if my math is correct. So at that point, where does the incentive come for people to continue to run the Bitcoin network? Right now, they get a percentage of the Bitcoin that is released, with a little bit coming from transactions. Well, Binance is saying maybe these Bitcoin NFTs and the L2s, like the Lightning Network, is what's going to be that keeps Bitcoin going, keeps the people with their PCs on running the Bitcoin network there. TJ, have you thought about what happens after 140 years? We're not mining any more Bitcoin. Who's incentivized to have an extra $200 in today's dollars? Who knows what that would be like then? Who's incentivized to continue to run a Bitcoin network if you're not receiving rewards?
Well, you would be receiving rewards. You just wouldn't be receiving the block subsidy. You'd be receiving the rewards from all the fees. And the
Correct.
idea behind this is that the fees would be going up dramatically between now and that point. So to answer your question, yes, I have thought about 100 years from now. Luckily, it's all theoretical. I'm not going to actually have to live it, but my children will, and all of us, the next generation, will have to live in that world. So I do believe that the fees, and this is why I could not understand the outrage with ordinals and with the NFTs and a lot of that stuff that was happening with NFTs on Bitcoin, because to me, this is proving the theory that, a lot of what is blockchain and crypto and money and monetary policy in general is game theory, if you boil it down. So really the game theory of will the fees be enough to continue once the block subsidies goes away, the ordinals coming out and having great success is starting to try to prove that theory. Even right now, 100 years, it's really like 120. It's the year 2140 is when the mining,
2140, 120.
Yeah. So in my opinion, the fees will be enough. We could see an insane, $1 million Bitcoin at that point. Now, is that buying power of Bitcoin going up or purchasing power of fiat going down? Probably a combination of both of those things. So you really, the numbers get a little wonky when you're talking about $1 million Bitcoin or what things are going to look like 100 years from now. If we're completely off the fiat system, which is what a lot of us are hoping and kind of theorizing will most likely happen, then you're very incentivized to do it because you basically would be the equivalent of mining the world reserve currency. And even if you're getting a fraction of a Bitcoin, the value of that will be enough to justify the cost to create it. Now, we won't know until we get there. But everything I've seen so far from, at least the last 10 years of Bitcoin has shown that the game theory and the incentive structure and the network effects and all of that stuff, that's what is the beauty of Bitcoin, and they're extremely strong. The incentives are very strong, and the theory behind why certain attacks would go certain ways just seems to prove out time and time again. So I still feel the fees will be enough to justify the miners running the software and mining nodes. You also got the cost of energy, and some of that comes into play a little bit. That might be reducing potentially as time goes on. So a lot of factors to consider there, but I think the fees will be enough.
Yeah, we're trending towards free energy on a long enough time scale there. I'm glad you brought up network effects. Reminds me of Bitcoin Miami 2022, and a little man, I don't say that, a big man by the name of Jack Mahler. And he was up there espousing the ideals of Bitcoin and how the network effects are about to take hold. And he showcased how to buy something with Bitcoin at a gas station. It took about 10 button presses, but he was very impressed and said, next year it'll be down to 9. I'm kidding, of course, here, but I do think Lightning Network will pick up slowly but surely. Rice, what do you feel about mainstream retailers picking up Lightning Network? Can you see a Walmart or an Amazon picking up Lightning Network payment systems? And if so, what would that do to Bitcoin's price?
I mean, it would allow for accessibility and such, but even the thought of it really makes me want to throw up in my mouth because I'm one of these big blockers. I'm one of these people who saw what was happening in 2017. I befriended Roger Ver, interviewed him about what took place with the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin hard fork, which later took place in numerous different forks. My problem is that Bitcoin is being throttled and limited on purpose so that companies like Blockstream can pay the Bitcoin developers to develop solutions that they can profit off of without actually improving Bitcoin itself. Same thing with the Lightning Network. The other thing with the Lightning Network that's going to be a problem for a lot of people is once this regulation comes into play and how people are going to get charged with money laundering and operating without money transmittal licenses, because that's in fact what everybody who has a Lightning node is doing. So the Lightning node is just another way of trying to replace a lot of what the banks are doing. Will it allow for faster throughput with Bitcoin transaction? Yes. Is it on chain? No. Can you improve Bitcoin and have the same effect? Yes. Why don't we improve Bitcoin? Why don't we improve the block size? Why don't we do what Satoshi Nakamoto said that was he wanted or it wanted to be done with Bitcoin as Bitcoin grew? Why are we allowing someone like Adam Back and Blockstream to be traders to the entire Bitcoin industry and keep this technology throttled and limited on purpose so that they can create solutions that they can profit off of? Because nobody pays the Bitcoin developers a penny to develop Bitcoin, but Blockstream sure as damn sure pays those developers to create solutions that they can profit off of. So again, Adam Back, will you please accept my interview request?
Yes, Adam. Come on, Adam. Well, you asked why, opponents would say, well, why? Well, we don't need to, Rice. We have L2s. These L2s solve everything. Well,
and just like the ordinals, we had color coins and counterparty. This is not new technology.
It's the third.
Everybody acts
not
like
the
this
first
is something brand new.
Bitcoin.
It's like people you're late to the game, people. What did the father tomato say to the baby tomato? He said, catch up.
Yes. And I even heard a rumor, I heard Bitcoin even went down a couple times. All right, well, Crypto Factor, let's get back to L2s. When it comes to mainstream name recognition, Bitcoin obviously bigger than Ethereum. Many people know Bitcoin more than Ethereum. But when it comes to L2 adoption in the crypto community, Ethereum L2s take all of the pizzazz, suck all the oxygen out of the room. Do you ever see a day where Bitcoin L2s are a bigger narrative than Ethereum L2s?
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, before RiceTVx hard forks Bitcoin again, I just wanted to say a couple of things. I think that people need to realize that Bitcoin should be left alone. What do I mean? It's sound, it's hard money. That's its use case. All these NFTs, all these layer twos and so on, they don't need to be built on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a different thing. It reminds me a lot of people that come in the comments and say, oh, it's old tech, because they hear somebody saying it's old tech. No, it's not old tech. It's the tech you need for it to work. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Let's leave it at that. And then when it comes to innovation and building and so on, you can do that on Ethereum, you can do that on Matic, you can do that on different, Polygon or other networks. Now, as for the layer twos working on other cryptocurrencies, I think that's what you said. No, I think they will always be in front of Bitcoin. I think there will always be more development because obviously there's more profit to be made. That's the other counterpart to Rice TV's argument there. And obviously more people are going to be building on there. And that is fine. That works. That's how things work. And I don't see why that should be changed. And I don't see why people can't just see Bitcoin being Bitcoin as sound hard money.
Rice, rebuttal.
Why can't we improve sound hard money, the code to grow with the actual people that are coming on? There's the scalability.
With NFTs?
No, I don't agree with the ordinals thing. That's why I mentioned counterparty and color coins. But Bitcoin itself can be improved it can be improved and still be hard money. It can be improved to the point that we don't need the Lightning Network, and it can still be hard sound money. It can still be improved.
So Bitcoin Cash. So why improve it? Why not just go to another Bitcoin?
Bitcoin. And then the argument with the 2140 thing is there's going to be another technology that's going to come out way before then. It's going to make all this stuff obsolete.
So you have Satoshi's vision, which is arguably the closest thing to the Bitcoin white paper. Why not just move to that then? What?
I'm not
why include
arguing
Bitcoin?
which Bitcoin is the real Bitcoin. I'm arguing why do we keep Bitcoin
I'm
itself
not saying it's the
BTC
real or
limited. I'm
not.
not talking about
I'm
All
not
right.
saying
Well,
it's
I
real or
think
not.
there's a lot to unpack there. Factor yes or no, and then we'll just wrap it up with a question on Cassius on this topic. Yes or
To
no?
what?
Can
To what?
Bitcoin change slightly and still be Bitcoin?
I'd rather leave that to the developers. I'd rather leave that to the people in consensus. I think Bitcoin works as it is. I think Bitcoin's a great store of value. I think it's sound hard money. I'm one of the big fans of the Bitcoin Standard, the book by Saifedean Ammous, and that's what I'm going to stick by.
All
But
right.
it's not
And
peer-to-peer cash. It's not peer-to-peer cash. It's just a store of wealth that people just
Store
want to
value,
hold on to.
yeah. All right. Well, all right. Let's move
We
on
can
here.
debate it.
Last thing
I
on
love you,
this.
Paul. You know I do, and it's all in good
Yeah.
fun.
I know too, man. I know. We'll
Cassius
talk about
is-
it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we're loving it. We're loving it. Let us know your favorite. What is better? Is Bitcoin? Can it change? Do you like Bitcoin Gold? Do you like BS? Just let us know in the comments. What is the real Bitcoin? Well, Cassius, we have Lightning Network on Bitcoin is a very popular L2, but there are other L2 options. You have Stacks, you have Rootstock, you have others. Well, with Ethereum, you have a multitude of options. Do I want to use Circles USDC? Do I want to use Tether? Do I want to use DAI? I want to use these other dApps? What is a better strategy for mainstream adoption? Should it be kind of a centralized L2? Hey, everybody use Lightning Network, forget about everything else. Or should it be more like Ethereum's model where, hey, come in and choose your character?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I love the mini debate back there, because one question I had is that I was going to ask if anybody was a Bitcoin maxi, how they felt about L2s on Bitcoin. So it was nice to hear a little bit about that. But I definitely think that it's better to lean towards decentralization instead of centralization. So I guess the latter part would be the answer to your question. I like the idea of multiple options and not just be one centralized layer 2 for Bitcoin.
All right, all right. Well, let's talk about Doge again. Yes, I know we talked about it yesterday, but mostly talking about the logo change on Twitter and what it might mean and what is that Elon guy up to? Well, today, let's talk about some secret wallets. Let's talk about the price action here. We're still up 6.8%. So even if you jumped in, the same time yesterday, you're up slightly, even if you're trying to chase the pump there. Fun fact, I had a short open that it got stopped out at 104 cents, and my stop loss was at 102. That would have been a good short for me. But yeah, after surge up to 30% at one point, trading volume up 628%. Looks like it was in the billions there. But let's talk about the wallets. We did a little digging into the wallets. A lot of this is I haven't verified myself. I didn't ask Vlad, but apparently the number one wallet of Doge holds about a quarter of all the Doge in existence. Apparently it belongs to Robinhood. The number two wallet then belongs to Binance. But after that, it does get a little bit murky. We have the fifth largest Doge wallet. Yesterday transferred 650 million Doge, worth nearly about $61 million there. TJ, I'll ask you this. It's obviously a good on-ramp. We're talking about, Robinhood here. A lot of retail likes it. Dave Portnoy, when he tweets about it, it's going to be probably the number one thing people download and, to participate in the ecosystem here. What are your thoughts about Robinhood controlling 25% of all the Doge? And second question, what are your thoughts of it being all in one wallet?
Yeah, not too surprised that the exchanges are going to be kind of the big holders of some of this. That being said, that's not something I want to store any value in. Obviously, if one person holds 25% of the supply, also it inflates a lot. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get any Bitcoin layer 2 questions. I had a lot to say about that, but I'll stick to the Doge questions here. But
actually, no, wait in. We got time. It's only 5:23. Yeah. Before we'll segue into Doge. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin layer 2s and can we change Bitcoin or not?
See, I tend to fall into the camp that no, what Bitcoin has now is the fact that it remains unchanged, and if it starts to change, then you're really trusting the developers again. And yes, there's consensus, and I kind of agree with Crypto Factor's point. Like, if you want something that has some of these changes, that they do exist. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Diamond, Bitcoin Gold, Satoshi's Vision. There's been plenty of forks of Bitcoin, but the fact none that got the consensus, and that's why we know what the real Bitcoin is the one with consensus. Now, what he's saying about Rice was saying about Adam Back and Blockstream, I don't necessarily disagree with that either. I do think there's some throttling going on. There's create the problem, provide the solution, some of that kind of stuff. However, if we start making all sorts of changes to Bitcoin, then how can you trust that it's going to store your value? How can you trust that they're not going to add? Nobody likes to talk about the fact that the supply can change. Now it would be dramatic, and if it ever did, I think it eliminates back to the game theory stuff I was talking about earlier. If it ever did change, it immediately erodes the value as store of value because people would never.
Well, it
trust
technically
it again,
did, TJ. Technically, it did, TJ. I mean, when we
Talk
had
about
that,
when they printed trillions or
we
billions of
had the
coins.
inflation bug. I mean, there's
Yeah.
been lots of
Yeah,
issues, and they
technically,
even rolled back. So
Yeah.
if you want to be technical, the Bitcoin blockchain is not immutable.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it is. It
Richard
can
Hart
change.
just hit the like button.
Yeah, it can change. But my point is, if it did at this point, I think it undermines a lot of what it's trying to become. In my
agree with
opinion.
what you're saying.
I think
I
Andreas
agree.
Antonopoulos would disagree with you, by the way.
Yeah,
And with these forks, I think we've seen enough trial and error that we can utilize some of the technologies in the forks and add those on chain to what we call BTC. Because it's as if there's been canary networks out there. If you want to look at all the forks as being canary networks, they've kind of took the bullet a little bit. Now it looks like we can put it on chain.
All right.
Yes,
Well, or go ahead.
ahead.
Final thought on it.
No, I was just going to say, I do think inevitably a hybrid will happen where I also agree you don't need to build everything on Bitcoin. I do think Bitcoin layer 2s will be a niche, and it will actually, over time, I'm talking probably 50 years out, maybe even more than that. Once the returns start to diminish dramatically on altcoins, kind of like you see in proof of work, where there's a theory out there that there will ultimately only be one true proof of work chain that, of value, and everything will slowly gravitate over to that over the next 50, 100 years. I could see that happening with Bitcoin once the layer 2s get caught up, but it's going to take a long time. For our immediate future, the next couple cycles, I think there's plenty of speculation left to do. But once the speculation starts to, wear off, then the true value will remain in Bitcoin, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, traditional finance, for
Can I
what it's
throw
worth, only
something out there?
batches 24 hours of transactions, at a time. So 10 minutes, it's much, you can complain about a 10-minute block time being slow, but significantly faster than traditional finance when it comes to, making the immutable mark on the ledger. But all right, TJ, thoughts on Doge? 25% held by Robinhood and Vlad himself, actually, maybe. Who knows? Is that bad? I mean, should we worry about that? Should we not worry about that? Is a potential hack a concern?
Is it bad? Sure. Should you worry about it? No. Doge is a joke coin. It's a joke. That's the whole point. You shouldn't be worried about a joke. Now, should you make some money with it? Should you have some fun with it? Sure, have some fun with it. But don't store your savings in it. Don't try to get, if you have $1 million, I wouldn't go throw it into Doge and expect it to have more purchasing power 2.5 years, 3 years, 4 years from now. But it might. But no, I don't lose any sleep over anything that a meme coin does or doesn't do. You throw some money in it, make some money, great. But it's not going to change the world. It's not going to do. If you guys think Doge or Shiba or SafeMoon or any of these meme coins are going to do anything that they're promising as far as like actual real change of the world, then I don't know. You got another thing coming, I guess.
Well, tell that to Vlad.
But TJ,
Tell that
I gotta
to
throw
Vlad.
something out there. I
Go
gotta
ahead,
throw
sure.
something out there right now because I'm okay. Look, I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm a shitcoin minimalist, but I really love Bitcoin a lot. But let me explain
too.
something.
Me
If you look at Dogecoin, it's outperformed Bitcoin consistently since inception, I think, right? So it's giving you more profits. Second of all, yes, it's a meme coin, but it's a meme coin labeled as a meme coin. It's not pretending something it's not, and it has proof of concept as a meme coin. Then you get utility added to it because, look, it's being integrated to Twitter right now. It's a new logo. It's going to probably become tips or transfers of money on Twitter, at least we hope. And also, you can buy a Cybertruck with it. So generally speaking, you can give utility to something. You can't just say it's not going to hold any value or don't put money in it. Why? If it's outperformed Bitcoin, it's made you more money. It's a great thing to take and use to put more value into Bitcoin, to transfer take profits into Bitcoin, let's say.
So that's great points there. It does receive a lot of criticism. It was launched in 2013. To your point, has outperformed Bitcoin in the meantime. Potentially even more than Bitcoin has onboarded more people into crypto than, arguably any other protocol there. So Cassius, does it receive too much criticism? Does it get its fair shake? Should we give more respect to the Doge?
Well, I really love cryptocurrency for the computer science, and so Dogecoin with their tokenomics, I mean, ultimately, I guess I have a more long-term view like TJ, where I don't think, when you're printing minting a billion of them a year, like it's just not a long-term investment. However, there is some truth to the fact that it brought awareness to. Now, you got to understand, Moran, a lot of people don't know anything about cryptocurrency, and I got the calls. Should I buy Dogecoin? What's Dogecoin? Is it going to go up? It found a way to capture the psyche of the masses like nothing else I ever have seen before in such a short amount of time. That awareness into crypto, I'll take it, because I know a lot of people, if that was their entry into crypto and they start learning about the tokenomics and why it's going to lose value over time, well, then that's compared to what? Now they got to learn more about Bitcoin. Now they got to learn about what are other altcoins. So I'm not mad about it. I guess I think that the criticism of Doge from inside crypto is probably fair for people who know the computer science and stuff like that, tokenomics. But from outside, like the mainstream media, I think it's unfair because they utilize that to say, see, we told you crypto is a joke. We told you that, Elon Musk is going to go on Saturday Night Live and trash it. So that kind of
all right. Yeah, good point there. Good point. The sword
You're
cuts
talking about
both ways.
inflation on Doge. You're talking about inflation on Doge, and look at what's going on with the dollar and other currencies here.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
We're not comparing it to fiat, though. I was comparing it to other crypto.
Also,
let's do share. Well, I want to share the picture of Vlad real quick. This guy holds a quarter of all the Doge in the world. He feels safe. This is him fresh off his Kylo Ren audition. Did
Look
it
at
online.
that baller.
Yeah, we love Vlad. We love Vlad. Well, Rice, final question on this. Let's talk about that inflation. Its inflation rate is actually lower than that of America's. It is inflationary, however. But Elon Musk has basically signaled that this is what is necessary for a crypto to be taken off as some sort of crypto payment system. It needs to be inflationary. What are your thoughts on that? His game theory of, no, we need increasing supplies because we want a stable price over years. Is that a smart strategy?
I 100% agree. 100%. And I think that I would much prefer to use Dogecoin in my everyday payments than using the Lightning Network. The Dogecoin, being that it is an inflationary cryptocurrency and we're not limited by supply, I would much rather buy my coffee with Dogecoin. And I would much rather do that than use the Lightning Network. I would much rather support a decentralized cryptocurrency, whether or not it started as a joke. And I agree with everything everybody said, but it's just like the Bee Gees song. I started a joke. And look what this joke has turned into. That's the power of the meme is what this has turned into. Even the creator of Dogecoin said this was a joke. Like there was for this to have happened after he created it was a complete surprise to this individual, to the point that he's not even involved with the project anymore. But at the same time, it is the perfect. Would I invest in it for a return of investment? No. Would I invest in it so I can have something to spend versus using dollar bills? Hell yes.
All right. Let's go around the blockchain with that. I think that's a good question. Crypto factor. You're buying coffee. You'd rather spend Doge or Bitcoin?
Dogecoin, of course. Just a quick.
Or go ahead.
You can't give a simple answer.
Go ahead.
Neither can I. So why do you ask?
Yeah, you have a hot take on disco. Go ahead. No hot take on the Bee Gees there. KC Sunshine, Donna Summers. All right, TJ, you're buying a cup of coffee. Rather spend Bitcoin or Doge for it?
Doge, 100%.
All right, and Cassius, we'll round it up with you. Bitcoin or Doge when you're buying your coffee?
Doge. I think there's a difference between a cryptocurrency and a digital asset.
Oh, good one there. All right, let us know. What would you rather buy the coffee at? Let's show John Travolta and those nice disco moves. Disco is not dead, regardless of what they may say. But that is all we have time for. And Rice ended up that little debate with crypto factor. We took it to another factor, a factor of 1,000. Looks like you end up getting the most points there. Rice, feel free. Let's take it away.
1, I got the thumbs up for next week, so I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. 2, I want to encourage everybody to make sure they're following everybody's channel. 3, I just want to give a shout out to TJ Shed, because it was several years ago, before TJ had created Hit Network and moved out to California, or moved out to Atlanta, that we had done a show together with Ken Bozak and Jerome, this guy that was in the VR movement, and it was called Rehash Cast. So I just want to give a shout out to Rehash Cast, and it's good doing a show with you again, brother.
It is.
All
man.
right.
It's good. Can't wait to see you.
Shout out to Ken Bosak. All right, that's all we got. Make sure you hit the like button. Everybody's links are in the description below. Go check it out. Go follow their channel. Leave them a thumbs up. Till next time. Easy.